My name is Victoria Thompson. I'm 28 years old. Last New Year's Eve, my own sister stood up from the VIP table in the middle of our family's venue, grabbed two bulging green trash bags, the kind they use to clean up after the party, and threw them right at my feet like I was the trash itself. One bag hit my leg hard, spilling confetti cups and leftover food across my jeans and the floor. The whole table froze for half a second. Then came the snorts, the swallowed laughs behind hands, the fake coughs, trying to hide the amusement. "Get out," Kaitlyn said, staring straight through me. "You and that kid don't belong here." I felt Jacob flinch behind me, his small fingers digging into the back of my coat, but no one even glanced at him like he was actually a person. My mother finally rose slowly, as if she was tired of the pretense. Her eyes slid over me and landed on my son. "He's just a stain you brought back," she said, each word sharp and deliberate. "A reminder of the biggest mistake you ever made." My chest burned, but I didn't cry. I'd cried enough in this family growing up. Ryan leaned back, crossed his arms, and let out a short laugh. "Seriously, Victoria, just leave before you ruin the countdown. Like you ruin everything else." Someone muttered under their breath, "Be grateful we even let you in." Then the utensils started clinking again, like the whole thing was just entertainment before the fireworks. Kaitlyn jerked her chin toward Jacob. "Watch closely, kid. That's what failure looks like." Something inside me clicked like a lock turning. I picked up Jacob's backpack, ignored the trash at my feet, and looked my sister dead in the eyes. "Thanks," I said calmly. "I'll remember this." She smirked like it was a win. She had no idea what she'd just started. I took Jacob's hand, turned my back on all of them, and walked out of that venue like I was walking out of a burning building. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I just left. And that scared them more than any scene I could have made. Before I show you exactly how I turned that night into the one thing they never saw coming, and how I made every single word they threw at me cost them more than they ever imagined, tell me, what time is it where you are right now? And where are you watching from? I really want to know how far this so-called perfect New Year's Eve family story is about to travel. Dish. The cold air slapped my face the second we stepped outside the venue gates. Fireworks were still popping in the distance, lighting up the sky in bursts of red and gold, but I didn't look back. I kept Jacob's hand tight in mine and walked straight to the beat-up sedan parked at the far end of the lot, the one they'd always mocked when I pulled up. I opened the back door, helped Jacob climb in, and buckled him up with fingers that wouldn't stop shaking. He looked up at me, eyes wide and confused. "Mom," he whispered, "are we in trouble?" I swallowed hard, forcing my voice steady. "No, sweetheart. They are." I slid into the driver's seat, closed the door, and just sat there for a second with my hands on the wheel. The engine wasn't even on yet. In the rearview mirror, I caught Jacob's face, still red from trying not to cry, still trying to make sense of what just happened. That look snapped something inside me. I'd spent years swallowing it. The comments when I got pregnant at 20. The looks from Susan every time I showed up with a baby carrier. The way Kaitlyn would smile sweetly in front of customers but whisper, "You ruined the family image," behind my back. Ryan never said much. He just watched and let it happen. They'd always treated me like the cautionary tale, the one who messed up and dragged everyone down. Tonight they upgraded me to something worse, the outsider they could throw away. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out my phone. My thumb hovered over the recording app. I'd hit record the moment we walked through the entrance, some instinct I didn't even know I had. I pressed play with the volume low so Jacob wouldn't hear it again. The audio filled the car, Kaitlyn's voice sharp and loud, the thud of the trash bags hitting the floor, Susan's cold words about Jacob being a stain, the muffled laughter that followed. My stomach twisted, but the nausea didn't last. What came next was different, clear, cold, powerful. I listened to their voices like they belonged to strangers, not people who shared my blood. I stopped the recording and locked the phone. Jacob shifted in the back seat. "Mom," Do they hate us? I turned around to face him fully. They don't hate you, baby. They don't even know you. And they don't get to decide who we are. I started the car. The old engine grumbled to life, headlights cutting through the dark parking lot. Behind us, the venue lights were still glowing, countdown music. Faint now, fireworks still exploding like nothing had happened. But something had. Something final. I pulled out onto the road, the venue shrinking in the mirror, until it was just a dot of light. I'd always told myself they were family, that blood meant something, that if I just tried harder, they'd see me differently. I'd made excuses for every cruel word, every sideways look, every time they reminded me I didn't measure up. Not anymore. I glanced at Jacob again. He was staring out the window, hugging his backpack like a shield. He didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve to grow up thinking his own grandmother saw him as a mistake. He didn't deserve a mother who kept going back for more. This was it. The last time he would ever see me take disrespect and call it love. I gripped the wheel tighter. The road stretched dark ahead of us, headlights picking out the lines in the asphalt. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I felt awake. And I knew exactly what came next. The motel sign flickered red vacancy as I pulled into the empty lot. I carried Jacob inside, laid him on the bed, and pulled the thin blanket over him. He was out cold, exhausted from the night. I sat on the edge of the mattress staring at the peeling wallpaper, then grabbed my phone. Taylor picked up on the second ring. Victoria. It's late. Everything okay? I took a breath. No, it's not. I told her everything, the green trash bags hitting the floor, Kaitlyn's voice cutting through the music telling us to get out, Susan, pointing at Jacob and calling him a stain, Ryan just sitting there laughing like it was nothing. I kept my voice low so Jacob wouldn't wake. Taylor listened without interrupting, then let out a slow exhale. That's not a family New Year's Eve. That's emotional abuse wrapped in fireworks and countdown lights. I leaned against the headboard. I recorded it. From the moment we walked in, I have the whole thing. Good, she said immediately, because if they're going to treat you and your kid like that, the world needs to know what's behind their perfect little venue brand. We talked for almost an hour. She reminded me how much the venue meant to them. Kaitlyn and Ryan had turned it into their whole identity. Videos every year showing the family smiling under the ball drop, sponsors thanking the Thompson family tradition, tickets selling out months in advance. It was their empire built on the image of unity and celebration. And they did all that while cutting you out, Taylor said. Remember the papers your mom had you sign when you were pregnant? I froze. I hadn't thought about those in years. I hung up and opened my suitcase. At the bottom, under folded clothes, was a folder of old document stuff from Dad's estate after he passed. I flipped through them in the dim lamplight. The will had divided the venue into 3 equal shares, one for me, one for Kaitlyn, one for Ryan. But there was a separate agreement dated right after I told Susan I was pregnant. She'd sat me down at the kitchen table, Jacob still in my belly, and said it would be easier if I signed over management control temporarily, so Kaitlyn and Ryan could run things while I figured out my life. I was 20, scared, and I trusted her. I signed. The word temporarily wasn't anywhere in the document. The control had been reassigned permanently to Kaitlyn as primary manager with Ryan as co-signer. My name was barely a footnote. My hands shook as I read it again. They hadn't just humiliated me tonight. They'd stolen my share of Dad's legacy years ago, then acted like I was the problem for showing up. I closed the folder and stared at the ceiling. Taylor was right. The venue was everything to them. Money, reputation, control. And for the first time, I had something they couldn't ignore, proof, and the beginning of a plan. A few days passed and I couldn't stop thinking about the venue's online presence. I opened a private browser tab and searched their official page. There they were, Kaitlyn posting behind-the-scenes clips of the countdown setup, Susan posing with garland and smiling for the camera, Ryan filming the new fireworks rig with captions about family legacy and perfect New Year's memories. Thousands of likes, comments full of hearts and "can't wait for next year." It made my stomach turn. I created the anonymous account that night. No photo, no real name, no connection to Thompson. Just a simple handle. I uploaded the first post, a single blurred frame from the video, the green trash bags on the floor, nothing identifiable. The caption read, "When the people who are supposed to love you most tell you and your child you don't belong at their New Year's Eve table. Has this ever happened to you?" I waited. Then I added the audio, short voices, altered, no context. Just the words, "Get out, stain you brought back." The first comment came within minutes. "This happened to me last holiday. My mom called my son a burden. I left and never went back." More followed. "Same here, called my daughter a mistake. It breaks you. You're brave for sharing. We see you." The account grew steadily, hundreds of followers overnight, then thousands. People shared their own stories in the comments, tagged, friends reposted. It wasn't just likes, it was recognition. Strangers saying, "I believe you," when my own family never had. I kept posting carefully. More snippets layered over generic New Year's footage, blurred faces, no locations. Each one got more engagement. Comments turned into messages. "What did you do next? How do I stand up to my family?" I didn't reply yet. I was watching, learning. The power came from the numbers, from the echo of so many voices saying the same thing I'd felt alone for years. Meanwhile, the Thompson venue page kept rolling out content. Kaitlyn live streaming rehearsals for the countdown. Susan talking about building traditions together. Ryan teasing the biggest fireworks yet. Their followers ate it up. The contrast was stark, but I didn't rush. I let the account grow quietly, building an audience that would matter when the time came. I opened my laptop and searched for lawyers specializing in family estates and commercial real estate. Brandon's profile came up: first, years of experience, strong reviews for tough cases. I sent him the documents, the recording summary, and a brief explanation. He called within hours. "Victoria," he said, voice calm but direct. "This is a solid case for coercion on the estate transfer. But the real leverage is the venue's debt." He walked me through it. Kaitlyn and Ryan had borrowed a large sum to upgrade the venue indoor pavilion for Rain Bigger countdown stage premium fireworks rig. The entire property was collateral. Their payments were current, but the margins were razor thin. Almost all revenue came from New Year's Eve ticket sponsors' concessions. A single bad season could force default. "The bank has started selling notes on similar loans," Brandon continued. "If we move fast, you could acquire this one. It would give you control over the debt. They miss payments, you call the shots." The number he quoted was high. My savings from freelance work weren't enough alone. I called Taylor that night. "I need help with the down payment," I told her. She didn't hesitate. "I'm in. Let's do this." We scheduled a meeting with the bank. The loan officer was straightforward. Market conditions had made the note riskier. They were open to selling. I signed the transfer papers, wired the funds, and Taylor co-signed the short-term loan to cover the gap. When the confirmation came through, my name appeared as the new note holder. I stared at the email for a long minute. The power shifted in that instant. For years, they had held everything: money, image, control. Now I held the one thing they couldn't ignore: the debt that kept their empire standing. Jacob was at the table eating cereal when I closed the laptop. He looked up, spoon paused. "Mom, are we going back to the venue next year?" I knelt beside him, meeting his eyes. "If we do, it won't be as guests." He nodded slowly, a small smile forming. In that moment, I felt it: not just anger, but certainty. The high-stakes decision had been made. The countdown to their reckoning had begun. 1 year later, I walked through the venue gates with 2 tickets in hand. The place was packed tighter than ever, new string lights draped across every tree, extra vendors selling hot cider and glow gear, the countdown clock dominating the center stage. Families crowded the open areas, kids waving light sticks, couples posing for photos under the massive ball drop. The air smelled like pine and gunpowder from the fireworks setup. Kaitlyn was near the entrance greeting VIPs in her signature sparkly dress. She saw me and froze, smile dropping like it had been slapped off. She stepped close, voice low. "You have got to be kidding. You actually came back?" I met her eyes without flinching. "I'm here as a ticket holder, and as the person who owns your debt." I handed her the formal notice from Brandon, clear letterhead, my name listed as note holder. Kaitlyn's face went white. Susan pushed through the crowd, eyes darting. Ryan appeared behind her phone, still in hand from filming content. Susan whispered, "Victoria, don't do this here. Not in front of everyone." I kept my voice steady. "You will apologize to Jacob. Look him in the eye. Say what you said last year was wrong, and I'll record it." They glanced around the countdown. Music was rising, people cheering, fireworks about to start. They couldn't make a scene. Kaitlyn nodded tightly and led us to a quieter corner near the fireworks launch platform, away from the main crowd. Jacob stood beside me, small hand in mine. Kaitlyn went first, voice strained. "I'm sorry, Jacob. I shouldn't have said you and your mom don't belong here." Susan knelt down, awkward, on the gravel. "What I said was wrong. You're not a stain. You're my grandson, and you belong." Ryan shifted his weight. "Yeah. Sorry. That was out of line." I held the phone steady, recording every word. When they finished, I stopped it and slipped the device into my pocket. "That's a start. But it's not the end." I pulled the folder from my bag and placed it on the small table in the corner. The agreement was thick pages of legal language Brandon had drafted with precision. I slid it toward Kaitlyn first. She opened it, eyes scanning quickly. Susan leaned in, reading over her shoulder. Ryan stood with arms crossed, jaw tight. The terms were clear: full recognition of my 1/3 ownership in the venue restored immediately. A separate trust account for Jacob, funded by 15% of the venue's annual net profits, locked in for his future. And the enforcement clause: any violation, any derogatory word, any exclusion, any repeat behavior, and I would release everything. The recordings, the estate documents, the full timeline, publicly. Kaitlyn flipped the pages, stopping at the signature lines. "This is extortion. It's accountability," I said evenly. "You had years to treat us like family. You chose not to. Now you choose how much this costs you." Susan looked up, voice low. "We're in the middle of the season. Sponsors are here. The countdown is starting." I didn't move. "Then sign. Or explain to them why the perfect family venue suddenly has a problem." The music outside swelled, people chanting the final seconds. Fireworks were cued, lights pulsing. They couldn't afford a scene. Not tonight. Kaitlyn took the pen first. Her signature was sharp, almost tearing the paper. Susan signed next, hand shaking slightly. Ryan added his name last without looking up. I checked each signature, then closed the folder. "It's done." Susan tried one last time. "We can talk about this later. After the holiday." I shook my head. "There is no later. I don't forgive you. I won't stay involved. This is the last time we interact as family." I turned, took Jacob's hand, and walked out. The countdown reached 0 behind us. Fireworks exploded overhead, lighting the path as we left. I didn't pause. I didn't look back. Weeks after the full story went live, the ripple became a wave. I posted it with faces blurred and voices distorted, just enough to protect identities while letting the truth stand clear. I was the one they threw trash at on New Year's Eve. Last year, they told my son and me we didn't belong. This year, I held their debt. The response was immediate. Shares spread across platforms. Local news picked it up first, then regional stories followed. People recognized the venue from the background descriptions. Comments turned into conversations, then articles. Sponsors reacted fast. The fireworks company that had been a longtime partner issued a quiet statement about aligning with community values and pulled out. Beverage brands followed, removing their branding from future events. Food vendors distanced themselves one by one. Without those partnerships, the venue lost credibility overnight. Ticket pre-sales for the next season collapsed. Reports from industry trackers showed 40 to 50% fewer bookings compared to the previous year. The seasonal revenue that carried the entire operation simply wasn't there. Debt payments became impossible without the influx they had counted on. They had no choice. The venue was forced to sell a substantial portion of the property to outside investors. Kaitlyn and Ryan were removed from primary management roles. Susan stopped appearing in any public or promotional capacity. I sold my restored share at a fair market price. The money was enough to relocate us to a new city, quiet streets, good schools, a fresh start. Jacob adjusted quickly. He made friends in his new class, joined a soccer team, started smiling more freely at home. There were no more calls from Susan, no messages from Kaitlyn or Ryan, no attempts to reach out. The silence was final. I never looked back. Family isn't blood. It's respect. When they chose cruelty over kindness, I chose to protect my son and myself. We built a life without them, and we are living better because of it.